based on what Gabe says, it sounds like this game is going to be a lot more enjoyable. Do you think it's going to be like a little more enjoyable? And will this bring in new players? What do you think?
I do agree that it definitely makes the game way more enjoyable because you can just play the deck that you want. Like ever since the wind up loop, like when the wind up loop came out, you could really only play like
Order of Chaos.
yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, Order of Chaos. You could really only play like windups, Inzectors, Dano Rabbit because those were the decks that stopped windups, and you had to main hand traps. No matter what deck you played, you had to have hand traps, or your hand was going to get looped.
I love hand traps.
Exactly. Like they're great, but like it doesn't matter what deck you were playing, you had to run them, or you were going to get your hand. Even like Dark World players had to run hand traps. And then ever since then, like the upcoming archetypes since then, like they just got consecutively more and more and more broken. And then it just like the pinnacle was just dragons and Spellbook Judgment. And like if you didn't play those two decks, you just got annihilated. And if you had a deck that was great against dragons, Spellbooks would wreck it. And then like so forth and so on. Like those are just both of the two top insane decks. And I feel like Konami finally realized, hey, nobody wants to just play two decks for the entire format, and we really fucked up. And I think a big symbol of that is just outright banning Judgment, which I was personally surprised that they did that because it's a secret rare that just came out in the most recent set, and they don't usually do that with higher rarity cards. Just ban them outright because it's a money card. I mean, it's a secret card that's like an archetype. Like it totally makes an archetype awesome. Of course, people would still buy it if it was legal. But they just outright banned it because they just realized, hey, we made a really huge mistake here. And now so many players are going to be able to have fun. Like, they'll be like, oh, I'm not going to get, like Draco sacked every fucking turn and get my resources annihilated and get OTK in the first two turns. Yeah. I'm not going to get all my stuff faded and have to stare down.
Oh, man, no.
I feel the game is going to be way more enjoyable. And I feel like it'll I'm not sure how much of new players it'll bring in, but when new players sit down and start to learn about the game, they're not going to have to get annihilated the first time they go to a tournament. Like, don't get me wrong, when I went to my first tournament, I got annihilated, but I didn't get, like, totally blown out by a deck like Spellbooks or Dragons. Yeah, I just got, I got beat by, like, Glad Beasts. And away from me, and I was like, wow, that deck's, but it got me intrigued. Like, wow, that deck's really cool. Like, what is that? I didn't just get totally blown out and then realize, oh, I want to play that deck and realize it's like $400 to build that deck.
Seriously.
So I feel like it'll encourage players to get more curious and inquisitive about the game instead of just like, oh, this game's dumb and it's expensive. Like, why bother?
Right. Okay. And how was you and Jesse's performance during the Spellbook and Dragon format? Was it good? Was it bad? And then after you answer that, how do you think your performance will be coming into this new format? Do you think it'll be better? Do you think it'll be worse? So let's start creating a better mindset for you in this upcoming format. Can you go into that?
Let's see. So for the past format, if you didn't notice, or if people, obviously people noticed, we stopped making videos for the last.
Yes, I did.
And the biggest reason was because there was no content to make. Because people, I guess people would watch it, but they wouldn't extremely enjoy another Dragon Ruler deck and another Prophecy deck, and there was no point in showing people any fun decks or any creative decks, because even if you go on DN or you play in person, you're still going to lose the Prophecy and Dragon Ruler. That's just how the Konami made the decks. Mm-hmm. So for us personally, Jesse never made dragons in person, like actual physically made it. And I made spellbooks, and I played it, and every time I would win with it, I felt like shit.
Yeah.
It's like Judgment Day and Jowgen, this is not a game. And then every time I'd lose with it, I felt like shit. Because I'm like, well, I have Judgment and Jowgen, like, why? And so, honestly, most of the team took a break during the last format. And the people that did play, they played very casually against each other, and they traded to prepare for this upcoming format, because it was inevitable that Konami was going to have to make a huge change, or they would lose almost everybody. And so, the only people they wouldn't lose were the people that want to win just for winning, not to win for their own integrity, but just to win just to win. You go to comic shops and you see those people that are really desperate, and that's all they want to do. That's the only people that would have stayed in the game, and that wouldn't have been a healthy game at all. So last format, honestly, was kind of dead for us in general. For me personally, what made me sad is that I made a Piper build at the very end of the format that was extremely consistent and good against dragons and spellbooks, both of them. But it was like a month before the format was ending, and I was just like, why? Because I took a break and then I came back. I'm like, well, Piper's always been cool against any deck, so I put together a build with Jowgins and I mixed it with some spellbook cards and shit. And it was awesome, but it didn't work out because the format was ending. Now for this format, now that we're going to be active, we're going to be able to show our skills, when we go to events, because we're going to be active, we're motivated, and now that there's less one-turn sacking cards that you can draw, it leaves room for bluffing, it leaves room for psychological play, and it leaves room for deck building. And so that's going to be very, very productive for us. For me personally, I already have a deck ready for the next 2 events I'm going to be going to. I'm going to be going to LA Regional with Jesse, and we're also going to be going to YCS San Mateo. And I'm really positive about that. I want to see what the meta is going to be like in LA before San Mateo, and so that's my testing grounds for the team right now. Performance-wise, it's looking really positive. Plus, I have more time on my hands this year, so I'm going to be trying to go to as many events as I can. I'm going to start flying out to YCSs too this year. Just to start playing more. As a competitive player, I've always been very active and very, very sharp. When I play competitively, I play at a completely different level than with my friends or at locals. Like, competitive is just a totally different level. And Jesse's been learning a lot, since he's been learning from me and from the rest of the team. He's been learning a lot, and I believe that he can do really well as well.
That was pretty intense.
Yeah.
What can you say about that?
So, again, same thing. I pretty much just took a break for most of the format. For me, personally, just because it was boring. Like, I didn't want to build dragons or spellbook, and I had the whole spellbook deck. I had everything. The only thing I needed was literally just 2 judgment, and I have the entire deck already before judgment even came out. Like, I had the entire deck, and it just felt like it wasn't fun to just blow people out just unfairly. And I feel like it's extremely linear because it's like you look at your hand and it's like, well, I could do this and this, but why wouldn't I just do judgment?
Right, because it's
the most pluses I possibly can out of judgment, and it's like people play power first turn, and it's like, well, why wouldn't you just to get another spellbook and fill your game with spellbooks? Like, it's a stupid play, but it replaces itself. Who cares? And so it just wasn't fair and dumb. And I had some of the Dragon Ruler cards that I traded off instead of building the deck. It was just dumb. And then I've tried all kinds of different decks against spellbooks and dragons. I mean, I tried Hunter, I tried Insectors, I tried Chainburn, I tried Countdown, and just nothing was enough because of Eradicator. Like, Eradicator would wipe out all my resources, or spellbooks would get Decree, and that just shuts down a lot of trollier deck ideas because they're trap-based, and it was just a blowout, and it was not fun at all. And so I didn't play for most of the format. I pretty much just went to tournaments just to trade and to just play for fun. Like, I see a lot of people like, hey, do you want to duel? Do you want to duel? Do you want to duel? And we would just duel just to duel. And that was great. But I didn't join any official tournaments until closer to the end of the format, just because most of the good players were not playing spellbooks and dragons anymore. Even though I know they personally had the deck, they just weren't having fun with it. So they would just show up with regular decks, and all the bad players who spent money on the deck would play dragons and spellbooks because they want to win. And that's all they would play. But the good players realize, hey, we're not having fun here, and we're just going to win turbo packs or $15 store credit. There's no reason to just stack up on it like a dick. So we might as well just play. So that's when I started having more fun closer to the end of the format. And that's when I would start, top 4ing tournaments again. But of course, in top 4, there'd be one dragon player, and he wants to play the whole thing out, and he would win.
Gosh.
Because most of the bad dragon players, all they did was just, literally somebody told me once when I lost him in top 2, he was like, yeah, I just go derp and nobody can stop me. So, and that's all he did. He would literally just explode, use all his resources as often as he possibly could, and you just couldn't stop him. Even if you saved your resources, it's just too much. Yeah. And it was bullshit. But anyway, so most of the time I just took a break until the end of the format. This upcoming format is all I've been talking about. I mean, I called Gabe like a million times for like the last month and a half about how excited I am, or especially when the ban list came out, man. I just exploded his phone, and our team group page is just exploding with ideas, and there's all kinds of viable ideas and on paper. And I mean, I have like 10, 11 decks that I've tried just the last like 2 weeks, and I'm extremely excited. And I feel like this is the upcoming format for skilled players. This is the format where skilled players are going to shine, where you're no longer going to be able to take a deck that you spent money on and just win because it's inherently good. You're going to have to be good at the game to top this format. And this is why I'm so excited, is because, you know, as a good player with good ideas and a good idea on what's upcoming in the meta, and because especially like Gabe has so much experience, he's been playing for so long, and I've been playing for a while now, that anybody who sits across from me, whatever they're playing, I'm really familiar with their deck. So that's what gives players an edge. People who've been playing a long time are going to be able to just know exactly what they're playing and what to expect, and there's going to be no surprises. And so I feel like all of us are going to do so well this upcoming. If anything, I'm going to have a lot of fun. But even if I don't do well, it's going to be really fun to not get blown out. It would be awesome to sit down and somebody's playing Harpies, and the next deck is like Junk Doppel, and the next deck is like Gravekeepers, and it'll just be so awesome just to see this myriad of decks come out, and you know, people excited to play them and just enthusiastic players.
At least for now, at least early format.
Yeah, as opposed to just like super big giant douchebags who are like, oh, I'm playing dragons, and they like expect to win and they like barely even look at you, like kind of thing.
It sounds like there's going to be a lot more interaction in the game now. That people are going to have a lot more fun. I was in at Black Diamond Games. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah, I've been there.
I was top 2. I was playing Mermails, but I love the fucking deck. My opponent was playing E-Dragons. And to be honest, he was not very skilled. I noticed he always expends the money to play the best decks. And I was like, dude, I just want to go home. It's like 11:30.
Oh,
it was like 11:20. I'm like, I have to work out in the morning. I have to get my 8 hours, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I have a life outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! Too.
Yeah.
He was like, no, we're going to play it out. And I'm like,
yep.
Whatever. And then he 2-0'd me, and I wasn't really that mad because I was like, you know, it's Dragons. It's a really bad matchup. So I just took my battle packs and went home.
Yeah.
But now, I'm looking forward to this new format. It sounds like you guys are looking forward to this new format.
Are you playing Mermails?
Yeah, still playing Mermails.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't put the deck down. As long as I have 3 Spirits, 3 Abyssias, 3 Megalos, I'm going to play the deck.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next segment.
Yeah.
So I hope our viewers enjoyed this segment, and Team SDC and our viewers on Honey Badgers, we'll see you at the next part.